Now, whether you are interested in the Dharma aspect, whether you are interested in the meditation aspect, whether it's the practice or the theory that you are interested in, you can ask. Are you meditating? You meditate. You do meditation. Then, is the pain because of the meditation? Before you meditate, you didn't meditate. How long has it been like this? What is your meditation? How do you meditate? What is the smell?
Walking meditation.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to writing the body.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to the mind meditation.
What is mind meditation?
Watching my own thoughts.
Mm-hmm.
And then watching my feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Then we went to the breath. Then the trouble started the brain, started to move. Then it became severe pain. And slowly started to reduce. Then I feel the brain slowly breaking up. Now it's much better than what it used to be.
Mm-hmm. Now, when you meditate, you said you do the breathing meditation. Now, when did the pain actually start? Is it with the breathing meditation or just watching your feelings and all that?
When I meditate, then the pain goes away.
Okay, when you do the breathing, it's okay. Now, when you meditate, are you relaxed?
I'm not sure. I don't think I'm very good.
Because when you meditate and you're not relaxed, you will not be free of tension. And if you don't do properly, the tension will still be there. And sometimes you don't realize that tension also builds up. When you do meditation, it's important that you relax. The first thing you do when you meditate is relax. You let go. You free yourself from all kinds of thinking. You free yourself from all kinds of feelings. You just let all things go and just relax. When you get to relaxed position, then your body will be at ease. Your mind will be at ease. When you're at ease, then only you start your mindfulness meditation, whether you walk. Even when you start walking also, you should already be prepared to walk. When you stand in a position and prepare to walk, prepare to let go of all tension. Really relax and let go. Then you start walking meditation. And when you walk, you don't think of all kinds of things. Whatever comes into your mind, you know, you're aware, bring back mindful. When you can keep your mind with your walking and observe your walking, then your mind will be free of all kinds of thinking. It will be able to follow your walk and be with you from that moment and moment to moment as you walk. And this way, you walk with ease, you breathe with ease, and you do things calmly and with ease. If you just relax, the walking will become calm and peaceful. When you walk until you are calm, and when you sit down, you should still be relaxed, mindful, and always at ease. Don't let the pressure come up, because when the mind runs and you're not aware, you don't bring it back, you keep on running, then you tend to have tension arising from within you. That is why mindfulness, just aware of what you are doing and be with yourself. And then when your mind is not thinking of anything else, just aware. At that time, your mind is actually concentrating on what you are doing, be with yourself, and also at the same time, you are developing mind control. That means you are able to bring back your mind and be with yourself and observe moment to moment. When you sit down also, as you sit down to practice, always remember that before we begin our practice, we learn to give the metta first, the metta bhavana. So you do the metta first. And when you do the metta, it should always come from your heart. If it comes from your heart, it makes you feel good and at ease. And when you start to meditate, relax, feel at ease, and then do the mindfulness. And should you feel any tension, whether in your head or in the body, always remember, breathe easy, relax and let go, and free yourself from the burden in your mind and in your heart. Then when you settle down, calm and clear, then you can see very clearly. And whatever tension arises, let go, relax. You don't build up tension. Sometimes we are tense without realizing we are tense. And we tend to get agitated sometimes without realizing. But if you watch your feeling, you watch your thought, you will know when the feelings arise, when the pressure arises from within. You will know. If you are mindful, if you watch, then you will know. And when you know, let go, release, let go. Then the suffering that comes up will go. But if you want to watch the suffering, how you suffer, let it come. Let it come up. Then you watch the feeling comes up, the tension comes up, the thinking comes up, the thought comes up. And you see how your mind works, how your mind functions, feeling, perception, thoughts and thinking, and the stir and the disturbance comes in. The thoughts, the thinking always stir our insight. See? Then we will keep on running, and then we keep on following our thoughts, and then the agitation comes because the mind is running confused and not relaxed and not peaceful. That is why we can observe. If you want to observe the whole process, yes, how it comes and how it develops the thinking and how the emotions come. So in this process, you can watch the 5 aggregates. You watch your form. You watch the mind in terms of the aggregates of the mind. You watch the feeling that comes, the sensation that always arises. Then you feel pain. The body feels pain, but it's the mind that is aware. The mind that feels the pain. It is a feeling that arises. And because you perceive the pain, then the thoughts arise pain. The consciousness arises. The knowing mind arises, aware of the pain. You can observe this whole process, the 5 aggregates within yourself in your meditation. So when you let the feeling come, you see how it comes, how it influences you, how you react. You can see a whole process of the 5 of the aggregates within yourself. If you want to watch the process, you watch this way. Should tension arise, and pressure arise, and you feel, oh, this feeling has come, then you feel the tightness here or there, then you know, see, the pressure has arisen. You already did not let go. People attach to a lot of things without knowing. Even the mind, the feeling arises. Sometimes they attach to the feeling, they attach to the thoughts, don't realize. So if you find that it's pressure here, pressure there, then relax, let go. You release the pressure until you're calm again. Then you always watch again. Because when the suffering comes, you know. The pain comes in your body, you know. You're mindful, you watch. When the tension comes here, you should know also and mindful and watch. If you want to see how it develops, you can watch the process. If you don't want, you can relax, let go. The tension builds up in the head, so you know. See? The tension has built up. And you know, if this goes on, it causes suffering. You can see the suffering in yourself when you are aware. The tension inside is always suffering. Whether your body is suffering, the mind is suffering. That is suffering. The body is suffering, and mind is suffering. Outside is suffering, inside is suffering. And you should see the real nature of your body and your mind. It has this suffering nature. So from your experiences, you learn the truth of the Buddha Dharma. From your experiences, you see the realization of the truth of the Buddha Dharma. So from your meditation experience, you see the truth of the Buddha's teaching. That the form and the mind are all actually impermanent. The things come, they go. They change. They're not always there. They are there when they come, but when they go, they're no longer there. Then you learn to see the things come, things go, they change. Now this is called the impermanent nature of all phenomena, of all things. In yourself, you see the proof of the Buddha's teaching from the suffering that you have. You learn and benefit. You see, this body is full of suffering. This is mind full of suffering. All are impermanent. They come, they go. And you feel the suffering, you realize this is the nature of life. This is the truth of the Buddha's teaching. In ourselves, we realize the truth of the Buddha's teaching. And clearly do we see, because it's from our experience, now we experience it. There's Dharma in practice. The moment you see it, the moment you realize, that is your realization of the truth of the Buddha's teaching. Of course, the suffering is there, this body and mind suffering. It is called the dukkha. And in ourselves, we see the nature of the dukkha from our mind. Even if nothing outside hurts us, the suffering comes from within ourselves. In everybody's life, there is this impermanent nature of changing, emotions, feelings changing, of thoughts changing, of form and mind changing. This is impermanent, as you know. The suffering that comes from form and mind, the suffering nature. In ourselves, we see this is nature of suffering. It's the truth of the Buddha's teaching. Life is suffering. You study the noble truth. Now it's yourself. The realization of the noble truth. Life is suffering. See, and what is the cause of suffering? Your own ignorance, your own attachment, your own defilement. That you can't also let go. That you build up and cause your own suffering. The cessation of suffering. There is a way to end suffering. And what is this way to end suffering? The Noble Eightfold Path. Now you put into practice in your meditation the Noble Eightfold Path. The way to end suffering. So in your meditation, you practice the Noble Eightfold Path to realize the Four Noble Truths. In this meditation, simple, nothing but we feel the pain, we feel the suffering, we feel the pressure of life in ourselves. That is the truth. See? To realize the truth. And when you see that things come and go, and when they go, that they are gone, it's not there anymore, then you realize, you see, it is basically a non-self nature, or the empty nature of all things. That all things eventually, when they come, they go. And when they go, they're gone. Then we detach. From there we learn to detach and let go. When they are gone, they're gone. Another one is a new beginning. When one comes to an end, that's gone. It's past. That's empty. No more. Another one begins. Because we have the condition for all things to begin. So another one begins. Therefore, in yourself, you know that? You see and understand. And how to let go of suffering is to detach and let go. See, always if you can let go, you feel the pressure in you release. And this actually what is called Nibbana, to release yourself from suffering. So you learn to understand the impermanent nature of all things. We can't hold on, they come, they go. They come on their own, they go on their own. You can't control the suffering nature of your body. All things arise within your body. You can't control because the phenomena of your body comes and goes. If you want to get sick, you get sick. You can't control it. Whatever the body process wants to experience, the whole thing arises by itself. See, and then it goes off by itself. In the mind, all phenomena arise. The mind arises, feelings arises, all its own comes and goes. That's how people function. See, the body, impermanent, the suffering, and non-self, they go, it's gone. But because yes, right, that's right. That's good to realize the suffering of life. That's why the Buddha taught, you see, the Fourth Noble Truth is life is suffering. Life by itself is suffering. But we learn to see the non-self, the empty nature, and easier to let go. We can't see that all things are empty. They're basically the non-self, no real self, only because we think it's solid and has a self. But really, when from our spirit we see, when they're gone, they're gone. See, another one comes. Everyone is a new one. The old one always goes. And when something comes to an end, that it ceases to be. See, and there's condition for it to arise, it will arise. There's no condition for it to arise, it will not arise. That's how we come to realize. If there's condition for our thoughts and feelings to arise, they will always arise. If no condition to arise, it won't arise. If there's condition for mind to arise, mind will arise. If no condition for mind to arise, mind will not arise. If there's condition for body to arise, body will arise. If no condition, not arise. That's how people become arahant. When no more condition for mind to arise, no more condition for body to arise, both mind and body do not arise, then they is called arahant. It's a cessation of the mental process and physical process. It's only to realize through meditation. So you understand? To let go, to release. In this way, you free yourself from tension, you free yourself from suffering. And in your daily life, learn to detach and let go. Every time we hold, when we take something in our heart and hold, it becomes a burden to us. And throughout our lifetime, we take so many things in our life, in fact, cram. Then we always feel the pressure and the tension of life because we just don't understand the nature of all phenomena, and we don't know how to let go and free ourselves from this suffering nature. That is why when we meditate and we learn to understand the real nature of form, of mind, and dharma, and all things that exist, and see that all are basically impermanent. They come, they go, they change. All flow naturally because this is natural law. Law of impermanence is natural law. It operates everywhere within you and within other beings as well, here and everywhere in the entire existence. This natural law of impermanence operates. That is why we understand all things are impermanent. We will not crave for so many things in our life because they don't really belong to us. We think they belong because of our ignorance and attachment. We cling to things as our own. And we don't realize all these things are not our own. It's only because we are ignorant and we have this clinging and we have this grasping and greed in our heart. But once we come to understand that all things are impermanent, they come and go of their own accord, that is natural law, we learn to understand that things come, things go. We can't hold forever. Then, when we can understand, we loosen our grip on things. We free our mind from clinging, from grasping, and trying to get things for ourselves. If we can let go in this way, our mind and our heart will be more free, will be lighter, with less burden, if we can let go of so much grasping and clinging. And in this way, less greed will arise in your heart, knowing and understanding. These things are impermanent, they're not ours, because they don't understand. We think all things can be owned and can be possessed by us. It's only our own delusion, because we don't see the real impermanent nature. Things have their own way of coming, their own way of going. If we understand, we can accept that. And we know it is the way nature is, it is the way life is, it is the way everything is. And we learn to accord and understand. Then we don't have so much greed for so many things. And life will be simpler and easier with less complications and less troubles if only we understand and don't grasp and have so much greed for things. Instead of having greed, instead of trying to get, instead of grasping, learn to detach, learn to let go. Then you find life has less burdens. If you don't carry so much in you, then a lot of things will be easier with less suffering. And another thing is to know that basically all things have the suffering nature. Within you, the mind has a suffering nature. And also this body has a suffering nature. All things in life has suffering as its nature. A law that is natural, a law that is we call natural law. And with all birth, with all death, and with all existence, this nature's law operates within us. That's why we have the natural suffering nature. See, besides the law of impermanence that operates everywhere, law of suffering, nature's natural law operates everywhere. We have the suffering nature within us. They will always manifest throughout our lifetime, in the finer form, in the coarser form, in any way it can manifest, from the finest to the coarsest, meaning the roughest form that we are aware of, it will always manifest. Throughout life, the law of nature always manifests. Sometimes we can be aware of our suffering, sometimes we may not be so aware, but the suffering is always there. At one time or another, we come to be aware of the suffering of life. And this is also to prove the Buddha's teaching, see, the natural law of suffering, which is a part of our life. And when you realize this in yourself, you realize the truth that the Buddha taught, see, the truth about suffering and the truth of impermanence, all realized within yourself from your practice. This is the way to understand Buddha Dharma, and also the law of non-self, also natural law. It's good to understand, because these laws operate everywhere. See, operates within you yourself. So if you don't understand, life can be confusing and difficult. If you understand, then it's easier for you to accept and to deal with things in life. This nature's law is actually a part of life itself, because it's natural law. This you learn to live with, because it is also within you and applies to you and everyone. Now, non-self. And also we say no self. That all things really have no real substance, no self, but difficult to see, because we see everything is so solid. How can there be no self and no substance? That is why in meditation we learn to see that as all things come, they also disintegrate in due course. All things decay. All things pass away into emptiness. They eventually go. Whatever you can own in this life, eventually not yours and gone. Eventually you yourself also gone. With the flow of life that comes, with the flow of life that goes, you come, you also go. All things come, all things go. Eventually they're not there anymore. They are basically empty. For a time they come and exist like rail. For a time you cling to them. Then one day you realize that life flows on. Things flow on. In the end, they're all no more. That you also pass away. That all things eventually decay, disintegrate, and also no more. Therefore, in your everyday life, you see how things eventually come to an end. Then we learn to see the non-self or empty nature of all things. They don't exist forever. They are temporary states that come and then they go and they pass away into emptiness. Then we realize the nature of non-self, of emptiness in our life and our existence. These three basic laws which you study, which you have come to know. Now in your experience, if you meditate, you can apply this to your meditation to realize for yourself the true nature of these natural laws. And in this natural law, you see the true nature of yourself. All that the Buddha taught in the Buddha Dharma is for you to understand and realize within yourself that you have full comprehension. If you can't experience it and don't realize for yourself, Buddha Dharma will be something apart from you, something which you study and take into your mind and think you know. Basically, the real understanding of Buddha Dharma and the real wisdom is not to take things into your mind and think you know, but to realize within your mind the real nature of life, the way truth really is. Then only do you have full comprehension of the Buddha's teaching, simply because they are part of your experiences, a part of your life that you have come to know, have come to experience, and come to realize for yourself, really realize and know and see for yourself. Then only do you fully understand the Buddha's teaching. Basically, it's actually the facts of life about yourself and about life in existence. The coming of life itself, the flow of life itself, and the passing away of life itself. The natural law and facts of life, human existence, how they come to be, what it is all about and how it goes, and how conditions are produced for life to continue and flow. When we come to know the Buddha Dharma, we will know that actually the real understanding comes from your experiences of the teaching. We study at one level, then we put into practice. And when we put into practice, we go into a different level of understanding, different level of comprehension and realization. It is only when you put the teaching into practice and realize it in your life, then only do you have the real wisdom. Then only do you have enlightenment. Then only do you realize Nibbana. So in order to realize Nibbana, the teaching will have to be put into practice, become a part of your life, a part of your practice, and then the Buddha's way will become a way of life. The Buddha's way will become your way of life, and that way you also will get enlightened, just as the Buddha gets enlightened, because he cultivated the way to his practice and through his experiences. And that's the way you will realize the truth of the Buddha's teaching. That's the way you will get enlightenment. That's the way you will realize Nibbana from your own practice and realization. You yourself will come to know, to experience, to realize. Therefore, this way the Buddha taught is actually meant to be put into practice. Because if you don't practice, you will not know the real nature of his teaching. It has many different depths and different levels. And people, because of their different mental states, because of different karma, people have different way of looking and understanding, of looking at the way the Buddha taught the teaching, of looking at the teaching, of understanding the teaching. But the one who truly understands the Buddha's teaching is the one who has realized from his own practice and know for sure this is the truth of the Buddha's teaching, the full realization. Now, this is the way we come to know and understand Buddha Dharma. And ultimately, the truth will be from your own realization. Studying is one level. The realization is something else. There is a different level, a different depth when you come to realize from your practice. When we read, when we learn, we are learning at one level only, still superficial level. We still don't understand the real nature. We can quote a lot of things. We can challenge everywhere. But do you know the real nature of the Buddha's teaching? How far do you know? Have you realized in depth the nature of that teaching? In order to know for sure, you have to experience it, look into it, put into practice. And then in your life, then you will see the way the Dharma manifests. And in your life, you will have the real understanding of the Buddha Dharma, in-depth, real understanding and full comprehension. The practice of this way will lead to what is called enlightenment, realization of the truth, not to crowd your mind with a lot of knowledge, but realization means free your mind and free yourself from all suffering. And this freedom of the mind, freedom from suffering, is the realization, is the nirvana, totally free and liberate yourself from all suffering. This is what is called nibbana. The real wisdom is not the accumulation of knowledge from your reading, from your thinking, from any other source whatsoever. That the real understanding, the real wisdom is to realize the truth from your practice, from your own heart, your own nature. That one is the true wisdom, realization of the true nature of life. Okay, if you have any question, you can ask.
That which realizes suffering, what brings self?
Do you know what that is? You don't know. That's your own mind, your own self. That which realizes the suffering is yourself. You realize, your mind that realizes the suffering. The mind is free from suffering. It's the mind. That which realizes, which can be free from suffering, is your own mind, your own nature. That's why we always look into mind. This body is external. See, whatever that realizes, whatever that's conscious of anything that comes from within you, that is your mind. That this body without the mind has no life. That the mind is alive. The mind is the source of your life. The mind is what that is active when you have life. That's why before you do anything, before this body can do anything, the mind has to arise and give the intention to do. Then only will the body do. So what is it that is conscious? What is it that is alive? What is it that knows? Your consciousness. That is the one.
If one practice breathing until the point when it becomes very cold.
Very cold.
And then after a while it disappears. I get nervous and then I stop. What is the best thing to do?
Normally, when you breathe, the flow of breathing will change according to your feelings or your thoughts. The breathing can become fine or it can become coarse. But sometimes when you have meditated for some time and you have some calm within you, certain degree of calmness, then you find that the breath can become finer. Okay, and when it becomes finer, sometimes you may not be aware of the breathing anymore. That it may disappear. But the breathing actually does not disappear. It's just that it has become fine, so fine that you are not aware anymore. It has gone back to its mind base. But it will rest there. So when you find that you have no breathing, it's gone back to its mind base. It rests there. So you don't worry. Don't get panicky. See, when it's still, you can just sit still and still relax and still observe any phenomena that may arise. Because other things may still arise within you. Even if the feeling that you don't feel at the time, you can still be aware of pain, of any discomfort, of any agitation, of any thinking or thoughts that may arise. You can still sit in calmness and still practice that mindfulness. You still go on. You don't worry because it has just become fine that you are not aware. So if you are afraid, you want the breathing to come back, you start breathing again, draw the breath back again, the breathing comes back. See? And you can follow again. So when you are calm, the breathing goes back and stays there. But instead, it's going on, but fine, so you're not aware. So when you feel that you have no breathing, that is very fine, you don't have to worry. See, you can still relax and still go on with the mindfulness. Should you want to bring the breathing back, you start drawing your breath. Then it comes back again, and you can follow again. It's always there. Like what? It's always operating by itself. Everything by itself. That's why we say things are impermanent. You can't control. This breathing also, it goes on by itself. This is a natural phenomena. It's a natural law. The breath of life, the life force itself, goes naturally, comes naturally. It can be fast, it can be slow, according to how we feel and think at the time. This breathing actually very closely associated with your mind, with your body. It conditions the body and the mind, the nature of the flow. See, if we are calm, slow, you see, if we are agitated, if you have any other emotion, past, cause, you see that? When the nature is cause, breathing cause. See, when your mind calm and still, then it becomes still. The interaction between the breathing, the mind, and the body. See, all three work closely together. That's when we come to understand. If you see that the breathing has gone down, you're not aware, don't be afraid. It's just resting. Because it's slow, maybe it's gone inside. It doesn't come out in a coarse way. You can't see. When it comes out externally, the breathing is heavy, it's still coarse, rough. When it becomes finer, it goes back inside. Yeah. There are a lot of things inside that are very fine that we are not aware of. A lot of coarse things, because they are coarse, because they are rough, they manifest in a rough way, we are aware of. And things go fine, they go back inside. But it's inside, so you have nothing to worry about. Very cold. If you feel afraid or very cold, you can always bring back the breathing, then generates again. Basically, if we can be very calm, we normally do not feel very cold. But should you feel unsure or uncertain, then you can always bring back the breathing and generate the flow again. So even if you feel cold, you should be aware of the cold. Whatever comes, mindfulness is to observe whatever phenomena arises. If you feel cold, you're aware you feel cold. If you feel warm, you're aware you feel warm, and know that the feeling, the sensation arises, then we feel cold. Because the sensation arises, that we feel warm. The feeling has a reason. The mind has a reason. The feeling is the mind. When you watch the feeling cold or warm, you're watching your mind. What actually they feel? You see that? What is it they feel? You say cold, you say warm. What is it they feel so cold? What is it they feel so warm? Then you're watching the mind, the conscious mind, conscious of the element of heat and cold. So any experience at all, if you really watch, you learn from it. Whatever phenomena that arise, it's always the mind that is aware of sensation. After all, feeling is sensation. Cold also sensation. Heat also sensation. This is how we learn, see, by observation. Because you may feel cold for a while, the cold may not be there for all the time. It may go away. Because all things are impermanent. They come, after a while, they go, and something else will come, another feeling will come. A feeling of cold will come, another feeling will come, a different feeling will come. There's a flow of feeling, the flow of our mental phenomena. The mind is always changing. And the mind flow, thinking. And because we are so unsure of things, we always feel fear. Because we are unsure. And that's why when we learn to understand, and we really understand the nature of phenomena, it is like that. And we know this is only natural, it's normal. Then we no longer have any fear. When we feel cold, we know we feel cold. When we feel warm, we know we feel warm. When we feel depressed, we know we feel depressed. These are all mental states that arise within us. That is the mind. So we know it is the mind, it is the feeling, it's a mental state. And all impermanent. And if we don't understand, we have fear, then we feel the suffering arises. When we hold and attach, instead of just observing and understanding, we attach. When we attach, then the feeling and thinking comes, then the fear comes already. If you don't attach, you just observe and let go, they all go. Then we have no fear. Because we know when they come, eventually, sooner or later, they go. Change in the phenomena.
It's very nice, fresh, pleasant feeling.
Yes. Let it come by itself, let it go by itself. You don't force anything. You just sit relaxed. You feel good and nice. You are supposed to practice mindfulness. Mindful then, the good feeling has arisen. Mindful, you feel good. You just sit there, you feel good, alright, you know you feel good. It's just natural only. For as long as it stays there, it stays there. But don't grasp at it. And don't try to hold on. And afraid to let it go. No. Because it will go. Even you hold also, eventually also will go. That is why if we don't grasp at it and try to own it, we know it comes. At that moment we have it. We know we have it. Then when it goes, we know it's gone. These things come and go. But when we have it, we know we have it. When we don't have it, we know we don't have it. The mind does not cling or grasp. Then we understand. We can always experience anything and be neutral. When we are neutral, we have no happy or sad feeling, nor fear, nor anything. Then we can always be in calmness and have no fear in life. We always understand this life we cannot always control nor hold. Anything, this body, this mind, neither can we control and hold. They have their own natural flow. We learn to understand that. Then we learn to control our mind. With this understanding, we learn to control our mind, not to have such fears and feelings from understanding. If we understand, we will not attach, we will not think all kinds of things. We will only know this is the real nature of life. Whatever comes, we know it comes. It goes, we know it goes. Then we can sit in peace and watch everything come and go. Understand? This is natural law. This is the Buddha's teaching of impermanence. The Buddha's teaching of attachment and suffering. The Buddha's teaching that all are non-self. So you let go, you free yourself from suffering. See, if you can only know that the suffering comes, the suffering goes. If you attach, then you hold it. Same as good feeling, bad feeling, they change. The good feeling can change to bad feeling can change to good feeling. So if you understand the law of impermanence, of change, of suffering, and of emptiness, you will not attach to anything. You will not have greed for anything, for the good or for the bad. Then you will be neutral and stable, because we always have good and bad feelings. We always, have fear about things. Then you find that our emotions swing. And we call it the stress will come. Mood swing, feeling swing, the mind thought going. Because we don't understand and we have no control. When we understand, then we can calm down. We no longer worry. This is only natural law. It's a natural process. So we understand we can always keep calm, and this calmness develop. And when we have this calmness, we have less thinking and trouble. Less feeling arise, less thought arise. Less suffering arise. That is why when you practice mindfulness, just mindful only. See that? Just mindful only. And you see how the things come and go and change, how a lot of things cause our suffering. The suffering arises from within. You see. A lot of things that arise causes suffering. We can let go of so many things. We hold less, this heart with less burden will have less suffering. And you can let go of everything. And all the burdens will go. You free yourself from all suffering. Meditation is for you to understand this nature and then let go and free yourself from suffering. Anything you hold in yourself is like a burden. When you let go, you throw away the burden and free yourself. And the heart that is free is a heart that is peaceful, calm and stable. That is what meditation is about, to realize the truth and free yourself. Have no fear, you see. That's why we always teach the base for meditation. Develop a strong base for meditation, that you will have no fear. This base, I will repeat again. I've taught so many times how to establish a strong base for meditation. And for people's benefit, we will again go into the basis for meditation to develop a foundation that you have no fear, that you will, with goodness, cultivate this way to benefit yourself and if possible others as well. Base for meditation is actually to support your meditation, to help you, and also at the same time, these base are actually virtues which you cultivate and also is a part of the way. See, when you practice these bases, is actually you are cultivating the way. But because people always have fear, people always have both positive and negative tendencies within themselves. And a lot of these negative tendencies create actually suffering states for the people, giving rise to fear of this and fear of that, and people's lack of understanding of the real nature of things. We go into these four bases to support your meditation, to help you to understand. Even those who don't meditate, this is still good to practice. Now, we develop the sila as an essential part of meditation, of practice. The sila, or the precept, is important because it is this precept or sila that actually will give you the guideline how to live your life, how to do things that you should do and avoid things that you should not do. If you follow the precept as a guideline, if you abstain from all evil acts, and if you cultivate the good, then you find that this will eventually help to eliminate negative tendencies and activities and promote the positive ones. In this way, you will change and cut out the negative aspect and create more of the positive. That will give you a support. Because of the goodness you cultivate, because you avoid negative, then the positive will arise in you. And the constant cultivation of the precept will give you an inner strength, cutting out all evil action, all negative activities, and developing positive ones. Will give you an inner strength and cut out all weaknesses. Also, the precept is a purifying force. Because you cut out negative tendencies, because you cultivate the positive one, it is also purifying at the same time. So the precept as a guide for you how to live your life, as a support for meditation, because in order to meditate, you also need the support of your own good karma as well. And also, the precept protects you. If you do not commit any evil act or activity, if you only do the positive one, this will take care of your karma. And you take care of karma, your karma takes care of you. And if you do not have negative tendencies, you have the positive ones, you will not be so afraid of so many things in life. Knowing, that you have not done so much wrong, then you are more safe, because the precepts also will take care of you if you keep the precept. This is just one aspect of training, the sila, the moral precept. Then you have to cultivate metta. People all have some, or what shall we say, people always have a certain amount of unwholesomeness in them, or we say negative tendencies in them. See, people always have. We have a balance of the good and of the bad. But sometimes, because we don't know, we do a lot of things that are not really good or beneficial, that will bring us suffering. So we develop metta, and this metta we develop from our heart, so that we can change from within us. And this metta, if we cultivate, when it becomes a part of you, you always radiate the metta. And when you have this metta as a part of you, you will have the goodness in you. And when you have the goodness in you, you will have the strength within yourself. If you cultivate the virtues, you will develop an inner strength within yourself. Then you will have less insecurity and fear about so many things, knowing that in this goodness, there you will find the real goodness in life and in you. That is why we cultivate metta, to counter all selfishness and evil tendencies within us. Then we can bring forth the goodness and have no fear. And also we cultivate dana to overcome our own selfishness and self-centeredness, and let the heart open up and share with all beings. If we have generosity, then we share this generosity with everyone. Then only this heart will know that it has goodness, because this is a way of cultivating the goodness in you. And the generous heart also knows that you will have no fear about anything. In giving, there is the virtue. In giving, you benefit so many people. In giving, in doing good, that this goodness becomes a part of you, becomes your karma. It protects you and takes care of you. All the goodness will protect and take care of you, and also will change you from within. That you will get rid of all negative tendencies, get rid of all bad habits and bad traits that will cause suffering. And also we learn to pay respect to Triple Gem, so that we can link with the Triple Gem and have affinity, that you may receive the Buddha Dharma, that you can practice the Buddha Dharma. You will keep to the way of the Buddha Dharma until you realize Nibbana. So we continue to pay respect and create affinity with the Triple Gem. And when you have a Triple Gem in your heart, you will have no fear. Because you have the Buddha, Dharma and Sangha in your heart, then you will have no fear about things and no insecurity. When we practice these four bases of virtues, we develop the goodness in our heart, and we will have no fear. We will live in goodness, and we will benefit ourselves and benefit other people. That's how we get rid of the fear within our heart, and then we build up this internal strength. And this will help for those who meditate. Even those who do not meditate, cultivating the goodness will always benefit you in some way or other. This is a base for meditation. For all those who meditate, just cultivate these 4 bases. It will support your meditation, then give you the inner strength. And with this together with your meditation, then only it's easier for you to realize the truth. You have to build up what you call your own parami, see? You have to build up your own inner strength and your own goodness. After all, the Buddha's path is for you to develop this goodness. This is to benefit those who want to do meditation, and they have to develop this to support their meditation. All right? But for those people who need this, even if you don't meditate, always beneficial to cultivate the virtues. These are very simple, basic things that people normally don't do. If you do, it will benefit you in many ways. People always don't understand that there are certain basic things that they need to do. You have to have a base to start your practice, and this will form the base and the foundation for you to start your practice, and you can progress from there. All right, any more questions? Yes? You will start to realize when you begin to see the real nature of all things, of the real nature of phenomena. Normally, we use our thinking mind to figure things out, to think of based on concept and thinking. Because we use thinking mind based on concept of thinking, whatever we encounter, we always have our own views, our own opinion of things. Our own views, our own opinion need not necessarily reflect the true situation. It's just our view. So in order to know the real situation, we will have to look directly into that situation, and that's how we practice meditation or mindfulness, that our mind can come into contact, direct contact with that situation. Then only do we have the true picture. If the mind cannot come into direct contact with the situation, then the thinking mind comes in and think, and start to think and create thoughts. Now those thinking mind, those thoughts do not reflect the real situation. They will create delusion. But if we don't think and we don't create thoughts, but we look directly into the phenomena, then we see the real nature. That's how we get enlightened, by seeing the real nature.
Does realization comes in the beginning of releasing?
Of what?
Of releasing.
Yes, when you realize, you will be able to free yourself. You will let go and release. When you don't see the real nature, you won't let go, you cling, attach. And when you see the real nature, you detach quickly. And then when you detach, you cut off everything, and eventually you free yourself.
Is it compulsory that only those who sit meditate can only aim for Sotapan? Can daily contemplation be considered as meditation? Because not everyone can sit long.
The practice of meditation, the practice of mindfulness, is for you to use in your everyday life. Mindfulness should be practiced, shall we say, 24 hours, which means all the time. We practice, shall we say, 24 hours, which means all the time. Not necessarily that you must sit alone to meditate. You sit when you have the chance to sit and meditation and do sitting meditation. When you don't sit, when you don't do sitting meditation, for the rest of your life, you are still active. The rest of your time, you are still active. Therefore, when we practice mindfulness or sitting meditation, it should be 24 hours. Basically, it means to be aware of what you are doing at the time you are doing it. To be mindful of your activities from one moment to another, which means always to bring your mind back to be with yourself and with the moment at all times. Meditation is 24 hours, whether you sit or you don't sit. Sitting is one aspect. Your everyday activities is another aspect of meditation. They both go together. You sit in meditation, and in your daily activities you still meditate. Why? By being mindful, aware of what you are doing, keeping your mind with yourself. Therefore, meditation is not strictly restricted to sitting. When you sit, you can look into yourself. When you're doing your daily activities, you can still always look at yourself. Why? Because you keep the mindfulness with yourself. Mindful of yourself is meditation. Not confined strictly to sitting. Then when you're not sitting, you're not mindful, you don't meditate. The true way to meditate is always be with yourself and be with the moment, mindful of what you are doing from moment to moment. At all times, you are aware, you're mindful of yourself. Now, that is meditation. Sitting is one aspect. Your everyday life is another aspect of it. So basically, meditation means always aware of what you are doing, when you are doing it. At that moment, you are doing it. That is mindfulness.
The consciousness always come out from the physical body and looking at oneself sitting. What is the next step? The second question is, if there is a sharp pain in the heart, should one continue to note the pain or stop immediately? Thirdly, a friend told me that for the past 10 years, his meditation is very calm, without problem. Is it correct?
When your meditation is calm and without problem, that's all right. But then, from your meditation, you will have to realize the truth of life, the truth of the Buddha's teaching. Meditation is just a way, it's just a means for you to realize the truth, for you to get enlightenment, and that leads to Nibbana. So that should be that way. So if you are calm, it's all right, but learn to see the truth within yourself. That's important. See, meditation is for you to see the noble truth, Four Noble Truths, and you realize, practice the path to Nibbana. After all, you want to be free of suffering, so you should be able to realize Nibbana from your practice. So just being calm alone is not sufficient. You have to understand the nature of the form and the mind, and learn to free yourself from suffering. All right, that's one question. Now, for those who have, they feel the pain and they say whether they should stop or whether they should continue. If you find the pain is too much for you to bear, if you feel you need to stop, then you need to stop according to your condition. If you feel that the pain is not too much, that you can go on, then you can go on. It's up to you to decide according to your condition, whatever is best for you to do, because not everybody will need to do exactly the same thing. Some people may want to stop, they won't go on. That's all right for them to stop. But some people may still want to go on, they feel that they can. It's also up to them, your own condition. And if you want to let go of the pressure in your heart, learn to relax. When you relax and let go, free your mind and free yourself, just let go and relax and get all things out of your system. Don't cling, don't attach. Just let go and be free. Then you find there will be a lot less tension in you, just to be free and at ease. That's why we always learn to detach, let go, and free yourself. So the situation is up to you. See, whatever you feel. As some people, when they sit, they say the pain in their leg is unbearable. They can't go on anymore, and they need to change the leg. If you come to that situation and you decide that it's best you change your leg, then you change your leg. You sit in a different way. But should you decide that you can go on with the pain, it's no problem to you. You can take the pain. Go on, take the pain. Eventually you overcome it. It's up to you again. You see that nothing can be forced, that you must do like that. You learn to train yourself. See, train yourself according to your capacity as you go along. Eventually you will overcome all. That will be the result of your training and practice. In the beginning, you still cannot overcome so many things. So you need to change a bit. You need to let go. All right, you do that. But as you train yourself with more experience and with better capacity, you will learn to overcome all those things. Eventually, it will not be a problem to you. Although in the beginning, all those things were problems. It's called training yourself. See, at a certain stage, you can't cope with it, you can't cope. And maybe at a later stage, if you persevere, you may be able to cope. That's how things go. You can't achieve things immediately. It takes training. You give yourself time to train yourself. Eventually, you overcome all problems. That's what we call perseverance. You know, making efforts and persevere. In the end, you may succeed. You will succeed if you just persevere. We have to see the conditions. Some people, may think, oh, I can go on. Some people say, no, I can't. It's up to you. We can't fix one rule and say, all must do the same. No, we can't. Different people have different capacity, different conditions. Should be very flexible. Any other question? If you find that the consciousness comes out from your body and looks at your body, it is advisable that you go back to the body. We don't encourage the consciousness to come out and travel unless you know how to handle that. It is best for most people But when the consciousness comes out, let it go back and go back within yourself and let it stay there. Because when it comes out and you want to go from there, can you handle the situation? Can you? Are you sure that you will encounter problems? Those people who are sure may want to look some more. Those people who are not sure what to do, better go back and be safe. That's the best advice. See, if you are sure what to do, you can do. If you are not sure, don't do. Go back. That is the best advice. After all, when you practice mindfulness meditation, it is not to let your consciousness come out. It is for you to realize the nature of your consciousness and understand it. So you see, that is not the practice at all. All questions answered.
Yeah,
Okay, we can have a break for a while and let people think, okay? Then we have a break for a while. I've been talking for a long time, even before I came here. Anything that you want me to talk on in particular?
Talk about the practice of how we can practice in our daily life.
Practice what in your daily life?
Practice the Eightfold Noble Path.
Noble Eightfold Path. Without meditation or with meditation. Because the Noble Path is meditation.
Suppose in our daily activities, whatever we are doing, how can we incorporate that into our daily practice to make our daily living itself as a part of the practice?
Now the basic teaching of the Buddha is to do good and avoid evil, see? And also to cultivate the mind. This is the basic teaching of the Buddha. So in your everyday life, because you have to do good and avoid evil, then in order to do good and avoid evil, you also have to learn to be mindful and aware. Because if you are not mindful, if you are not aware, very easy to go and do things that you shouldn't do. It's hard to hold yourself back. You are not aware even because you act so fast, you think so fast, you do so fast. Sometimes you don't realize you've done it. And when you come to think, oh, you've done it, it's too late. That is why when we want to practice the Noble Eightfold Path as taught by the Buddha, we look at the nature of the path. Now, the actual practice itself, the actual practice of the Noble Path is actually the last part, the last section of the Noble Path that deals with right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. In order for us to really be so aware of what we do, we need to cultivate mindfulness, which is actually meditation. It is because we learn to meditate that we become more in control of ourselves and more aware of the real nature of things and of ourselves. If we are not aware of ourselves, if we don't keep track of ourselves, we act so fast without control. When we develop mindfulness and we are more aware of ourselves, then before we rush to do anything, we can look at ourselves and see what we are about to do. Then before we do, then we can always control, see, and we can always hold back. Whatever we are going to do that you know is not good and should not be done, then you can control yourself and then you don't commit that act. That will take care, see, of your karma, of not committing the evil. And if you find that you are going to do something good, then you say, oh, this is something beneficial that we should do. And you have control again, and you can always go and do what you should do. It is from our understanding and our mindfulness that we can keep track of ourselves, that we can decide the good that we want to do and control that evil that we want to do, so that in the end we are able to cultivate the good and avoid the evil, because we have developed understanding and control and awareness from our mindfulness, our practice. That is why this mindfulness, or we call sati or samasati, this mindfulness meditation is always very useful for most people. Just learn to concentrate or to be with yourself whenever you are doing anything. Then when you are aware of yourself, then you are aware of what you want to do before you even want to do it. You can keep track of your own feelings, of your own thoughts. And before you can do anything, you can even be aware the feeling has a reason, your intention has a reason. In this way, you come to know and understand yourself and in control of yourself. And when you're in control of yourself, then only can you control your actions, the good and the evil, to be able to do the good as you should, to be able to avoid the evil as you should. So in our everyday life, we develop this mindfulness, this practice of being aware of yourself. Then you learn to be in control of yourself. Then it's easier to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. It's very simple. Practicing mindfulness is just to be mindful of what you are doing all the time. And from there, you can keep track of yourself and you can practice the path in your daily life. And just as I've explained before, just now, the 4 bases, this also to help you. This you can practice in your everyday life. The Sila, you can practice in your everyday life. The Metta, you can practice in your everyday life. The Dana, and the respect to the Triple Gem, which you can practice in your everyday life. And these 4 bases will help develop your meditation or mindfulness. And from that mindfulness, you will learn to be aware of yourself and to control yourself and be able to do what you should do and avoid what you should not do, and at the same time be able to free your mind from suffering, from your understanding, from the practice. And from this practice will come the right view. When you practice and understand, then you will have the right views. Your views will be right from your understanding. You will see things clearly. You will have the right view. And when you have the right view, you will have the right thoughts or the right intention. Because your views are right, your thought or intention will be right. So the first of the Noble Eightfold Path, right view. They will condition the right intention. And when you have the right intention, all your actions will be right. See? The third of the Noble Eightfold Path, right action. And all your actions will be right. If your actions are right, the next one, your right livelihood. Your livelihood will be right. You're careful of your action. So you take care that your livelihood will be right. And when your livelihood will be right, then you will have the right effort, the right mindfulness, and the right concentration. So from the mindfulness will come the correct practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. And with the correct practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, everything will be right. And then you have the Noble Eightfold Path in practice in your everyday life. So all these things, how we practice, is very simple things that we do. The basis that we do, the cultivation of the virtues, and from the mindfulness, we learn to be in control and able to do what we should do and avoid what we should not do. And from there, our practice will come, our understanding and the cultivation of that mind. Because in daily life, see, we can put into practice the Noble Eightfold Path.
What is your view on this investment into stock and shares? I think it also is a form of greed, for those investors putting their money into the shares.
A lot of things in this world always reflect the greed of people, not only the stock exchange, There are many things that people do that show the greed of people. They want to cheat others to get more money. They find ways of getting things at the expense of other people. This also all reflect greed. You say the stock exchange reflect greed. There are a lot of activities in the life of people that also reflect greed. Simply because people have greed, then these activities come into being. If people have no greed, these activities will not come into being. So there are a lot of things that reflect greed in people.
But on the other hand, it's a way to get the resources in order for the company to build up, to have their own activities. So how we can look into this that is greed. But on the other hand, that the small shareholders are actually helping up.
If that is your way of living, if that is your job, that is your job. And you can always do things without the intention to be greedy, without intention to get more than necessary. If you have to get so much, you get so much. If this is your job to do, you do your job, but always with good intention. The right concentration usually comes from right mindfulness. When you have established a strong mindfulness, then you have clear perception of the real nature. When you have clear perception, then your mind will not run anymore. See, your mind will be calm, it will be still, and you will understand things clearly. When you have the right mindfulness, your mind will become concentrated. When the mind becomes concentrated, it will be able to go into states of concentration that we call samadhi, or concentration. States of concentration means that your mind is very concentrated. It is able to concentrate on any particular object or subject or phenomena without thinking and without using the false mind. Your mind will always be aware of the real nature. And in concentration, you look into the real nature of phenomena, you examine phenomena thoroughly, clearly, and distinctly, and you penetrate the heart of phenomena until you can realize the ultimate nature of phenomena, and from that concentration, the genuine wisdom will be born. Concentration is an ability to look deep into the nature of all phenomena.
Is it advisable, when we are constantly concentrating, probably we might enter into jhana? Is it advisable to
now, when you practice samadhi, you do go into jhana when your mind is concentrated. You do go into jhana. That's why we advise people, if you have the right mindfulness, you can always go into the right concentration. See, if your mindfulness is right, then your concentration will be right. Then this concentration should benefit you. See, if you don't understand the real nature of things, if you still have greed in your heart, if your mind is still not pure and you go into concentration, then because you can't handle the concentration as it should, and that concentration may not be the right concentration, may not be Samma Samadhi, then there is the danger of deviation or being caught in states that you yourself can't handle. That's all. See, when you do that, you should understand what you are doing. So when you do concentration, you should know exactly what you are doing. Then you have no fear or uncertainty. Jhana is a part of concentration. It's the higher state of the mind.
I'm worried about the experience that I might be in the jhana where external things might disturb me.
When you go into jhana, your mind is so concentrated, and when your mind is so concentrated, you will only concentrate on one thing at a time. So when you have jhana, you will be concentrating on only one object, and in that strength of concentration, the external will no longer disturb the internal. The internal will be so forceful and concentrating on only that object. Then at that time, nothing can disturb that concentration. If really you have the right concentration, it will be pure concentration on the nature of phenomena. And when you are deep in concentration, you are no longer aware of what's outside. And we are no longer what's outside. The outside will not disturb the inside, because the outside has been cut off. You're not aware of the outside anymore. You're looking deep inside into the real nature.
I'm worried about my children might disturb me during that period.
Then you tell your children not to disturb you during that period that you are meditating. You will have to remind them. Or you go to a place, or you meditate in a place where they can't disturb you. We all meditate in our homes. We also all have children. We also have to remind our children to know that when we meditate, they should not disturb us. Or you find a place where they can't disturb you. You have to create that condition for yourself. You have to train your children as well.
Talking about observing the form and the mind, do you kindly
That is not difficult. So whatever arises in the form, your physical self, you just observe and be aware. And when you are aware, you learn to see its nature. In your mind also, you have feelings that arise. You have thoughts that arise. You have awareness of perception that arise. Then you have the mind that arises, the mental activity. Just observe yourself, watch your feeling, that is the mind. Sensation, watch your own perception of things, watch your own thoughts or thinking, and that is looking at your own mind. That is the arising of the mind. See, and whatever you encounter in the body, you observe. That's watching, understanding the body and the mind. The 5 aggregates of body and mind. All right, you want to ask a question?
Yeah. On one hand, we are trying very much to relax ourselves and to calm ourselves down. But on the other hand, when in the office, we are always subject to the sort of pressure. So, on one hand, it offset, so what is your advice on this? What can we do, especially in the office?
If you really practice mindfulness, even in the office, you also practice mindfulness. So when you see things that arise that are about to disturb you, then you should know that all these things are impermanent. If you attach to them, they'll cause you suffering. And also non-self, they arise for a while, they're no more. If you understand, see, they're all non-self, temporary only, and you don't attach to them, then they won't disturb you. If they disturb you, it means you attach to them, you grasp at them. And when you hold it in your mind, then it disturbs you. That's why we always learn detachment. If you understand these are impermanent things, just for that moment it appears like that, then it's gone and no more. And if you don't attach, we understand, you can cope with whatever situation that comes. Because in life, we have this kind of situation. If we accept them as part of life, then we learn to cope with them. And with metta in our heart, we won't get angry, we won't be disturbed. We know this is life, the way people are. All people have suffering states that arise. So when suffering states arise in people, and these states disturb us, we also understand. If we attach, if we let these states disturb us, then the suffering in us also will arise. If we understand and don't attach, then the suffering won't arise, we will not be disturbed. And also from your meditation, you develop calmness. And from this calmness, your emotion do not arise so fast. You are more in control when you meditate. So when you see things like that, because you understand, this is the nature of life. All things have the suffering nature. But you know, this is a temporary state. Why do we take this one and let it trouble us? If we understand, just let go, detach. This is part of meditation, to learn to understand all these impermanent suffering, non-self. If we understand that, see, eventually it's not there. For a moment it arises, then it's gone. But if that moment it arises, we fail to see that nature, you're going to take, and inside you're going to disturb. But that moment it arises, we know and understand, it will go away, and we won't suffer. It is born of meditation, with the right understanding of the real nature. That's why in life, we can be disturbed if we don't understand. If we attach and let things disturb us. If we understand, we detach, we don't let things disturb us, then we are not disturbed, whether in the office, whether in the home, or whether we are anywhere, doing anything at all, we will always have this understanding, the right view. And we will always have peace in our mind if we ourselves can understand and detach and let go and don't grab at things, because if we do, it will disturb us. When we practice, all our practice will be a part of our life and will help us to deal with life situation. You must put this practice as a part of your life. See, with experiences you learn becomes a part of your life. And how you deal with life will come from there. So wisdom that will help you to deal with life.
No doubt, people know what is right and wrong. But in the worldly condition, the businessmen say they have no choice but to break their precepts. Now, how to advise the business people go about it, as they always justify their actions?
Now, in life, in the everyday life, we can't expect people to be perfect. Most people are imperfect. The everyday people have impurities. They also have to deal with life. That is why we always advise, whatever you do to the best of your ability. And whatever condition arise, you learn to cope with the condition to the best of your ability. So sometimes you're faced with difficult situations. Then just do the best that you can, according to the capacity that you can. Don't expect perfection from people who are not perfect. They still have to earn their living. As a guide, always remember that you have to do good and avoid evil, but to whatever extent you can do. You are not perfect, so therefore you do things that you have to do sometimes because of your job, because of your livelihood. Because people are still at this level, you don't expect perfection. Because by the time you come to perfection, then you see your life's condition will change and will be different. It's because people are not perfect. They have to earn their livelihood. Try to understand and go according to whatever condition that may arise, the best of your ability and whatever capacity you can do.
Is it necessary for many people or for yogis to be vegetarian?
Not necessary. To be a vegetarian should be your choice. If you feel it necessary, if you yourself want to, you can become vegetarian. If you don't want to, you are not forced to be. Your choice. Nothing is actually forced on people. Your choice.
Well, it may help in the meditation or not. Does it help?
Yeah, it does help for people who are sincere and who truly practice, but it's not forced on people.
I've come across some meditation, the advice of more or less concentration onto a crystal ball, and then from there on, give up the concentration and then look back into your past life and sort of thing. What is your view on this sort of this way of meditation?
I always tell people, when you practice meditation, you're supposed to see the reality. You're supposed to see the truth, to get enlightened and realize Nibbana. And you know, Nibbana is cessation, that everything is no more, comes to an end. If you want to realize the truth, you will realize Nibbana, then you should free your mind from everything. So that there is nothing in the mind anymore, then only the mind is free. If there's something still in the mind is still not free. It's still clinging to something. See, there's total deliverance or Nibbana. There's a total freedom and clearing of the mind, totally free and empty. Then only can cessation take place. Can you realize Nibbana? Just that. You must know that whatever arises in the mind is not the true or not the real. See that? No. It's only when the mind can realize the empty nature, then only can you realize the truth, the empty nature. Empty the mind, you will be free. That's why you have words such as anatta, you have words such as sunyata. What are those for? To empty.
This is from another sector where one of the monks, was advising some of the meditators.
I know, I understand.
So that's curious how it.
Yes. I want to clarify the way of Buddha. See, Buddha taught anatta, isn't it? Buddha taught sunyata. You're supposed to realize that. There's emptiness.
But there is a form of kasina.
Yes, they use it as object of meditation. They use that as object of meditation. But whatever object of meditation we use, we should be able to see the real nature of that object. See? And ultimately, the real nature will be emptiness. If you can't be empty, you can't really free yourself. You're still holding on to things. You can't let go. When you let go, then you're free. You see, when you hold, you attach, you can't be free. You're stuck there.
Some of these monks use kasina as initial stage.
Yes, understand. You can use kasina as the initial stage for you to develop concentration. When you have developed concentration, you no longer attach to the kasina. You're supposed to see the real nature of that kasina. You can use it as an object, yes, but eventually to let go, eventually to realize the real nature. That's the way it should be. Always remember, the Buddha's way is not based on attachment. It's based on detachment. Always letting go to free yourself, free your mind. That is the Buddha's way. I'm sure if you read, you will find that's what the Buddha has said. That's what the teaching is about. To free yourself, to get enlightened, and to realize Nibbana. and put an end to all suffering. Basically, that way.
What about this Mahayana? Normally they preach on this Bodhisattva, this sort of teaching. As if it's, it has a certain contradiction with what is taught by the Theravada.
There is no contradiction if you can understand the nature of the teaching. Both Mahayana and Theravada basically are the same teaching. It's just that Theravada teach at a certain level. Mahayana teach at a certain level, a different level of understanding. One can merge into the other if you only can understand.
We talk something about rebirth.
Yes, what do you want to know about rebirth? It's really a wide subject. What do you want to know about rebirth?
Because a lot of people are still confused. I myself is quite doubtful that it's really that you can.
Oh, you can be reborn, you mean? Oh, I see.
Or you can make a place of your own choice, or plane of existence of your own choice. Is it possible?
Now, when rebirth takes place, it is the consciousness that conditions the rebirth. So long as you have consciousness, so long as you have mind, it will condition another rebirth. Because why? The rebirth is always taking place within us. When one thought is born, before it passes away, another thought has arisen. Then our mind is full of thoughts or thinking. Because the thoughts flow on, the mind flow on. The mind does not cease. When you pass away from this life, the body comes to an end, but the mind does not come to an end. The consciousness does not come to an end. It has to flow on. Because it has to flow on, it conditions for another arising, another birth to come into being. That is how we are reborn, because the mind continues to flow, the thoughts continue to flow, because the consciousness must flow. Therefore, rebirth takes place. It does not stop. When you become an arahant, the consciousness stops. The thoughts stop. No more flow. Then no more rebirth. That is how we have to stop rebirth by coming to the state of arahant, to stop the flow of the consciousness. No more condition for it to arise and cause another rebirth. There will be no rebirth. So long as the mind flows on, it will condition another rebirth. That's how rebirth takes place, because the mind conditions another rebirth. The mind is the one that spins the cycle of life, and the cycle of life goes on everywhere in existence, and everything comes and everything goes. That is the cycle of life. Rebirth takes place everywhere. All things come, then they go. That is the rebirth. When they come, when they pass away, that is the death. Plants are born, plants die. Animals are born, they die. Weather changes, the seasons come, the seasons go. That birth and death takes place everywhere.
For us, we may be able to understand it, but for how are they going to educate those, ignorant and elderly people? What maybe can really teach them or make them understand it? Is there any simple way?
Yes, very simple. The people have a form, a body, and they have a consciousness inside. When people die, it's only the body that dies. This consciousness does not die. It has to go somewhere. That's why we reborn. Very simple, nee. See, the outside the body dies, but the inside, the consciousness does not die. It still goes on. That's why we have rebirth.
The arahant has no more consciousness. Then how come the chanting of the Japa helps one of the arahant relief of his pain?
What do you mean arahant relief of his pain?
I mean, one of the Japa Sutra, maybe it's the Moggallana was very sick, and then Mahakassapa chanted the Japa to him, and then relieve him of the pain. So how does the chanting of Japa relieve, since he has no more consciousness?
When you are an arahant and you still have life, then you are still aware. So when you hear the chanting, you are still aware of chanting. It's only when an arahant passes away that everything passes away with him. but he is still alive, he's still aware. He's still, the consciousness is still within him, although things have stopped, see, but he's still aware. Until he passes away, he's still aware. That's why he can still hear. When an Arahant is hungry, he still knows he's hungry, that he can eat. They still have awareness, but pure awareness, with no desire and no intention, no greed. But he's still aware, and until he passes away, he will be aware. He can still hear you when you call him. He can still hear the chanting. He still knows because he still has life within him. And then when he dies, then the consciousness comes and everything stops. So long as you have life, you can be aware.
How does the chanting itself relieve him?
It's not the chanting itself that relieves him. It is because he understands. When he hears the chanting, he understands the nature of the Buddha's teaching. Then he himself will be relaxed and he will let go and feel at peace with everything.
When a person who attains this arahantship, come to a stage whereby he has no pain, no desire, no hate. In other words, that this person would more or less like, he is like, people will look at him as a useless person. Because he has no desire, no, he is not able to do perform any other thing.
Yes, that is the worldly view of the worldly people. The worldly people must do something. They must get something. So when they see a person very still, the worldly people can think it is useless. But it is the opinion of the worldly people. The worldly people always have a lot of opinion about everything. I just tell you how to do the metta. You can do it by yourself anytime. When you do the metta, for most people, you can start with yourself, see, from your heart. Then you wish that may I be well and happy. You start with yourself, see, may I be well and happy, and may I be free from all suffering. Then you radiate out. You go outward, without. You can go to those who are closest to you first. May my family be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. Then you can reach out. Friends, for example. May my friends, may all my friends be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. May they guard themselves well. Then you have teachers. Then you go out. May my teachers be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. May they guard themselves well. If you have enemies, may my enemies, may all those who are my enemies be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. May they guard themselves well. Then you can move outwards. May all the people in this area, all this town, all this place, all be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. Then you can reach out further. May all the people in the world be free from suffering. May they all be well and happy and guard themselves well, or free from enmity. Then you can reach out. May all the beings, whether human or non-human, whether seen or unseen, all beings be well and happy. May they be free from suffering. Then you can reach out further. All the beings in all the directions, or in all the 10 directions, may they be free from suffering. May they all be free. May they guard themselves happily. Then may all beings without exception, you don't leave out anyone, everywhere, all. Now may, without exception, may all beings be well and happy. May they happily. From your know that everyone will always be and happy. May they be free from suffering. And also may we share whatever we have, all the goodness that we have, may we always share with all beings. That all beings will always be well and happy and be free from suffering. So you just radiate from your heart. Initially, you may use words to help you, the thinking, the thoughts to help you. And when you are good at doing it, you learn to radiate from the heart. when you radiate metta, the goodwill comes from your heart. Eventually, you come to a point where you don't need to say the words anymore, but from your heart, the goodwill always comes. And this one, the beings can feel when it comes from your heart, comes out. Then others can really feel it. And then this one really radiates. That's how we do the metta meditation. So eventually you sit and you radiate all the goodwill will come from your heart. And you can sit there and calmly radiate and radiate and radiate until you can feel the heart open and the goodness come from your heart. That's the way to do it. Anyone can do it every day. Now, before we go, we wish you all the best, and may all beings be well and happy. Always keep the Buddha's teaching in your heart, and from your good practice will come the peace of mind and the happiness that beings seek everywhere. From your pure practice, you will have the peace and the happiness, and ultimately free from all suffering. So keep the Buddha's teaching and put in practice. We hope all the best.
Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.